Good morning, everyone. I'm Evangelist Lynne Tober, and we are still continuing with our 40 days of prayer, teaching, preaching online for the sake of a nation. And how many know that this nation is in trouble? This nation is at a tipping point of possibly no return. And I know people say, well, could be as bad as the Civil War. Well, I'm going to go even further than that, because I believe right now we are in such a critical place that it could be as bad as the Revolutionary War. So today I want to address two party platforms. And you can even go online and look these platforms up. We have the Democratic platform, the solidarity with protests. They are passive toward violence. Many want to even defund the police department. The Republican side, they support the right of peaceful protest. Peaceful. They stand for law and order. They support the police. We don't want to lose our last rule of law and order. The Democrat platform, they want to cut defense spending and have open borders. Well, let me tell you, even the heavenly city is walled, and it takes extreme vetting to get in. On the Republican side, they want strong military and enforcement of immigration rules. They want immigrants to come over here, but come over here legally. Do you have a door on the front of your house? Why do you have a door on the front of your house? It's because you want to keep the people that live inside safe, correct? On the Democratic side, they always are taking the funds from military. Yes, they take the funds from the military and they want to give it to domestic issues. Again, that brings enslavement. They always see America as the problem. Now, under our previous administration, America was always deemed as the problem. Now, that's not to say that we're perfect, that we, haven't made mistakes, but every country has made mistakes, every single country. But I think we do good for the most part. On the Democratic side, the platform is for gay marriage, sexual orientation, transgender laws. They support the LGBT indoctrination in schools. Yes, in schools. On the Republican side, marriage is between one man and one woman. And they oppose making the LGBT protected class under civil rights laws. Let's look at Isaiah 5:20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, and put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. It does say in the Word of God, in the last days, they will call good evil and evil. They will call, good evil. They will call good evil. Well, you know what I mean. I'm tired. On the Democratic platform, under education, they want higher taxes. They oppose vouchers or tax credits for private and homeschooling. On the Republican side, they support parental choice of schools, and vouchers and tax credits for private and homeschooling. The Democrats want to lock down our kids in these institutions and indoctrinate them. Yes, that's what they're doing. And I don't know if many of you know, but in public schools, they can assist your child in transitioning between, if they want to become, a girl wants to become a boy or a boy wants to become a girl. Oh yes, this does happen. And they don't even have to let you know. We're going to be accountable for our children. Many people say America was racist from the very beginning, that it was founded, when it was founded on racism. No, it wasn't. Because 9 out of 13 colonies were against it. See, this is why they want to take our history away. They want to wipe it away. They're trying to erase it. There were blacks that were elected for office in Boston. This was before the American Revolution. Yes, blacks were elected for office. Washington and Jefferson petitioned the British government to end slavery. But they didn't want to. And many people gave their lives, even on their deathbed, because they wanted to end slavery, and it was against the law to do that. There's always been slavery and racism since almost the beginning of mankind. But there also has been good too. And I think the good outweighs the bad. Actually, there were more whites than slaves. A lot of people don't know that. Throughout history, there were more whites that were slaves than blacks. Now, that's not to say that we are, making it a higher priority. It's just things that people don't know because, like I said, they want to erase our history. The left wants to wipe it out. They don't want people to know the truth. This is why all these statues and everything are being taken down. During the Second Great Awakening with Charles Finney, this is what caused Christians to stand up and want to end slavery. These riots that are taking place, these protests that are taking place, they're not random. They're not random, folks. They're pre-planned and they are funded. I remember when I was in high school, my teacher said, America will never be taken over by force. It will be taken over subtly within. I think that's been happening. In 1966, when I was in school, there were riots. I lived in Michigan. And, the riots were happening in Detroit, and I lived 100 miles from Detroit, and they were worried that the riots were going to continue to come to Saginaw, to come to Bay City, to Midland. So we were sent home from school. We don't have a race problem. We have a sin problem. And I'm not saying that some people aren't, they're not racist. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is we have a sin problem that causes that, and that's why we need to bring this culture back to God. And I believe there's a fatherless problem. And I know everyone says, well, a lot of people say that's what's wrong with the blacks, that there's no father in the home. Well, even in the white community or Hispanic or whatever. But you know what? I'm not saying that there's a problem with a natural father being absent, but what I'm saying is much more. There's a spirit that it cries out for Abba Daddy, Abba Father. They need their spiritual dad. They need their spiritual father. And that's up to the church to lead these people back to a spiritual dad. I told one guy that one time in Michigan, who I was speaking to, who was a homosexual. And he, I had asked him, I said, where was your father when you were growing up? And he said, my father? He wasn't. And I said, that's where it's at. That's the problem. I said, you are craving, you're craving a father figure. I said, but your Abba Father, your spiritual father, he wants relationship with you. What I'm talking about is, yes, there's an orphan spirit out there that needs their Abba Father, their spiritual father. The Democrats believe that government creates jobs. Well, the kind of jobs that governments create mostly are getting fat. A lot of these jobs aren't even necessary. It's putting more regulations. That's what it's doing, putting more regulations on small businesses. The Republican side believe that private businesses create jobs. The private sector. They want to reduce the regulations on the businesses. Government never does anything good as far as creating jobs. This is why we elected a businessman. We elected a businessman. It takes a businessman to create jobs. Is there an agenda here? Ask yourself. You can't become a Marxist, a socialist, or a communist if you believe that every person has inalienable rights. So if you don't believe that, you cannot be a Marxist, a socialist, or a communist. The agenda is to dethrone God and capitalism. That's what these Marxists, communists, socialists want, to dethrone God and capitalism. God put gifts and talents in all of us, and we're not to be just all the same, live in all the same kind of a house, have all the same things. That's communism, that's socialism. We are all unique, we are all different, and God has given us all different gifts and talents. We're to depend on God, not on government, to meet our needs. For our sustenance and our future, we are to depend on the Lord. People are leaving big cities. Why? Because of the violence, because of the crime. Remember when I said, is there an agenda here? Well, did you ever stop and think about where all these riots and protests are taking place? They're taking place in big cities. Because see, then, your people that want to live right and do right and just, go to work, they move out because the crime. Some of the businesses have been destroyed. So the object is to get people that live in these big cities that are left to be dependent on the government. And usually it's with a particular party. Now, I know when I was growing up, I always heard, The Democrats are for the poor, the Republicans are for the rich. I always heard that as a kid growing up. But let's take a look at Democrat-run cities. They're running the ground. Yeah, they're for the poor, all right. They keep you poor. That's just my opinion. This is why the target for rioting and looting are happening in the big cities. People move out, businesses move out, and oh yes, even churches move out. The Electoral College is at stake because the Democratic platform, yes, they do. They want to get rid of the Electoral College. Because see, when they target the big cities, then they get the electoral vote because most Republicans have moved out, because the businesses have left, the churches have left, the people have left, and what's left is people that are dependent on the government. And so the big cities get the vote, the electoral vote that wins the state. And whoever wins the most electoral votes becomes president. So now, with fewer Republicans in the cities to do poll watching, there can be more fraud. And a lot of people don't know, but absentee ballot is good, okay? Absentee ballot is good because why? You have to go through a lot of steps to receive an absentee ballot. It comes to your home. You have to request it, it comes to your home. All this random mail voting, these ballots, these are just being sent out. They're just being sent out by the thousands. They're going, you know, who knows? The name of your dog or maybe even a dead person? No. Absentee ballots are good. And it's all this mail-in voting that's not good, okay? So I just encourage people, if you can, to vote in person. I once heard Hillary Clinton right on TV. It was caught on, well, thought that the mic was off, but the mic was actually on, just like President Obama made a statement at one time when he thought the mic was off, the mic was on. I heard her say, all we need is the right crises. Well, every socialist, Marxist, communist regime always likes to have a crisis. It takes a crisis to help get this implemented. COVID-19. Wow, did they take advantage of that? No, I'm not saying that the virus isn't real, okay? It's real, okay? It is real, and people did die. But the numbers were plated, we know all that. But we've had other viruses. Did we ever shut down? They took advantage of this. And with the virus, we're going to let out criminals. Yeah, we're going to let criminals out of jail because of this virus. So they let the criminals out to create more crime in the big cities. A lot were let out were gang members. Some were even MS-13 members, okay? And that's a bad gang, okay? And even some members of ISIS were coming over. They were coming over with some unvented immigrants, okay? Yes, there were some that did come. So again, some people felt unsafe, and so they began to move out. Some businesses, some churches, when churches should stay because they have the answer. But the churches that did stay, they shut them down. We must get more votes out than they have, okay? We must even get more votes out than we even thought we need. We think we need. Why? Because of the fraud. Because of the fraud. We need to really get out and get these votes out to counteract the cheating, the fraud. We as Christians hold the key to this election. We hold the key. Back in 2016, well, back in 2010, more Christians came out. But then in 2016, even more Christians came out. Well, I'm saying we need a landslide of Christians to come out. And if you're a Christian, how can you vote against everything the Bible says, the Bible holds? And you say, well, I'm not voting against it. Well, you are if you're voting for a platform with everything that goes against your biblical beliefs. And I know there's this teaching out there, or this, I don't know what you want to call it, a following. We gotta love everyone. Well, you know what? Love tells the truth, right? That's what love does. We need to elect people who will reflect our Christian values, our Christian beliefs. Are we going to remain a constitutional republic or become something so very different that you won't even recognize the United States of America anymore? Do you want to keep your freedom or lose it? We need to fight this battle on our knees and at the ballot box. That's where we need to fight it. And we need to tell as many people as we can. It takes prayer and action. We can't just pray and not act. And part of our acting is voting. But when we vote, we need to vote for life, and we need to vote on the side of God. So I pray that everyone listening today will vote, and they will vote for righteousness. So I just thank you for listening, and have a great day.